Thank you for coming. I'm Kostas Gaitanos. With me today is Sarah Banks and Razman Atamai. We worked very heavily on this over the past few years, along with other folks in our team. We just want to share some experiences with you by using Jenkins Enterprise across the enterprise to see how we can effectively manage this environment. We work for FINRA, so that's a few words about our company. FINRA is the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. We are the largest independent regulator for all securities firms that are doing business in the United States. Our mission is to protect investors and provide for market integrity. To that end, we have built over the years technology powerful enough so it allows us to mine information across the different stock markets, so we can detect potential fraud via patterns and pattern recognition and stuff like that. So right now we are able to oversee about 50 billion market transactions on a daily basis. So if you want more information about us, visit us at finra.org. Enough of this, next to Jenkins. So when we submitted our proposal for this discussion, we put under large implementations, primarily because we use a lot of the plugins that fall under this category. I just wanted to share with you some of our metrics to gauge as to how, what kind of activity we do for using Jenkins Enterprise. So we support about 110 apps, which translates to about 600 or so folders. 1,400 jobs, these are the active jobs over the last 2 months. We wanted to be kind of conservative when we came up with these numbers. If you actually look at over a 4-month period, then the numbers go to 2,500. So it depends, right? So all of them are active, but not some of them are more active than others. And then we use Jenkins to perform about 100,000 promotable builds every year. So that number does not include continuous integration, health checks, and all the other stuff. Plus, we drive a lot of our deployments via Jenkins. That's another 75,000 across all environments thus far. Now, 2 topics of discussion today. One is how do we enable the deployments to take place via the build pipeline plugin. To that end, we use the templates, the RBAC plugin, the folders. The idea here is that we have provided developers the ability to do this type of work, like to build and deploy through the build pipeline for quite a while now. We included QC lately because a policy changed at our company. It wasn't a technical problem, it was a policy issue. And then now we said, since we can do that and we have RBAC in place, why can we not do the same to enable people who do production deployments for a living to use the same pipeline instead of learning different deployment tools? Note, we used to have Blade Logic as a deployment tool a few years back. We moved to Excel Deploy now. Who knows where we're going to be a couple of years from now? So instead of people spending time learning every tool that comes along, it's better for them to be able to focus on their job, and we actually obfuscate that by providing them a dashboard just like the pipeline. The other piece I want to talk about is how we were able to, by using the Jenkins job DSL plugin and templates, to treat the end-to-end Jenkins ecosystem, like the build and deploy, as source code. So if you have seen, I'm not sure whether you can see that. So this is just a pipeline snapshot of one of the applications that we used. The first one is the one that we actually show you that it actually made it to production. The idea is, I just wanted to show you this a bit of a piece here. This is here promote. This is because of our implementation. In our implementation of Excel Deploy, we have one instance that handles all deployments but production, and another one that handles just production, good or bad. That's our implementation. So once you deploy something to QC, then you have to have a mechanism to make these artifacts available to your production instance of Excel Deploy. Therefore, you have a promote job, and that's what this card does. Now, the beauty thing, of course, is that people don't have to interface with the tools. They just click the cards, and the job kicks off in the background, right? Now, so how do we do this in terms of a template? How do we templatize that? And for more details around the source code, Raj can give you a lot of details. He wrote a lot of code around this. But the highlights is, for every job that you see, you have a job template, right? So for the simple ones, like the dev deployments, for instance, that's a job template. Then you have a separate job template that has the original one plus a child, And that's because we wanted to include the QC promote job to the QC deploy. And then you have a separate job template for the production deployment jobs. So when you run your folder template now, which is the encompasses all of those, it executes and creates all these jobs, plus the production folder, plus the jobs that have to do with the promote to production and the production deployment to production. So this one, I'm just going to show you, I'm not going to go line by line, but if you look at the template plugin, there is a section that's called transformers. So this is the RBAC code that goes right into the transformers piece. This is the most exciting piece out of that. The rest of the stuff is simpler. But so by putting that in, the folds get implemented, created, and the RBAC roles are implemented associated to that folder. On to the next piece. Treating all of Jenkins build deploy infrastructure as a source code. So here the idea is Jenkins is more than just a job, right? So you have to create the folders, the jobs, the views, the pipelines, all of it. Now, if you have only one folder, one job, this is not such a big deal. In our case, we have quite a few applications that have multiple components, many jobs. So in order to, and we have a lot of plugins, and we hook to a lot of tools. So every change that you make, it's painful, right? It takes a long time. So in one of these efforts, Sarah Banks, who spent a lot of time on this front, and she's right there, so you can feel free to ask her questions afterwards, she wanted to avoid going through this pain. So we went down the path of creating, let's design it so that we can have one framework that handles all components, all jobs within that app, right? And then you have in a JSON file all the parameters that you need to instantiate that framework for that particular application. So folders, environments, parameters that goes to the plugins that you use for that particular application goes into that JSON file. Separate note, we are not very good at creating this at 100% fully automated, so we are able to mine a lot of that information from the existing infrastructure that we have, but then a human has to go in and vet out that information, the contents of the JSON file, to make sure that it's right. And if something missing, then you put it in manually, right? But that's a one-time deal. You don't have to redo that again for that app. So, and then the last piece is, DSL obviously has a lot of, it addresses a lot of plugins, has a lot of classes, but if you don't, if there's something that you, there isn't there, then you have to configure it yourself, right? So you have to write it on your own. So if you were to look at this pictorially, then you have your job DSL methods that get inputted in, you have your properties from the JSON file, that goes into the job DSL framework, which in a sense becomes the seed job. So when you run it and it gets executed, it reads the JSON parameters, the DSL methods, and it creates, at the end, the folders, the jobs, and the pipelines associated with that. Now, and the reason why we're here to want to share some of the metrics, because that's cool talking about all this, so what at the end of the day, these are some of the metrics that we captured over a number of apps, not too many. I think maybe in the case of the templates, we have more than about a dozen. In the case of the DSL plugins, 2 or 3 apps, large ones, large for our standards. So the template plugins, I think it took us, there's always an upfront cost, right? Nothing comes for free. So you have to spend some time upfront if you haven't done the work yet to understand it and try to design it and implement it for the first time. So for the templates, it's easy to say that we spend a week minimum, right? Spend at least a week on this. But once this was done for that particular app, then to run it is 5 minutes. So to make a change, it doesn't take more than that. So in our case, for instance, we wanted to go, say, from, as I mentioned, from Blade Logic to Excel deploy. That for us became a large project. It was a few months worth of a project. With this in place, given an app, it would have been a few minutes, literally, right? If you want to modify a plugin, it's just a straight line in a file. You don't have to go to multiple projects anymore. So the gains are significant there, right? And when it comes down to DSL, to the second area for the DSL plugin, in that case, the applications that I talked about, it's over 20, they have over 20 jobs, multiple components. What we have seen is that it takes, from beginning to end, it takes about 20 minutes to create everything, right? So if you had a human, because we tried that as well prior to that, to do that, it would take about 4 to 5 hours. And that would be time after time, right? So I think we are actually moving forward to implementing this to other applications. We are looking also at the workflow plugin to see how this is going to help us out. But this is clearly something that we felt that we want to share with the rest of you because we saw some true gains by doing so. Thank you.